Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
You don't have a gavel.
A gavel? No. Yeah, I should have a gavel up here, but unfortunately, they didn't deliver one up to here for me to use this morning. But that was quite quick. Everyone got settled. I'd like to again say good morning to all of you here in the room in Conference Room 12 at the United Nations, and also good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you who are joining us via the live stream. We're pleased to have you with us for our event celebrating the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace under the theme, Sport for the Promotion of Peaceful and Inclusive Societies. I'm Robert Skinner from the UN's Department of Global Communications, and you will see me throughout the next couple hours as we move through this amazing program. You'll probably see too much of me by the time we're finished here, but my job is to move the program along. Today we're going to hear from some truly inspiring examples of athletes and leaders from global sport who are making a real difference. These are individuals and organizations who have taken up the call of the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, as a framework for positive change. And I think what's important about all the individuals you're going to hear from, they're not just talking about making change, they're doing it. And we've asked them to bring examples of what they're doing just to show the world that this all can be done. We can achieve the SDGs. And I've had the pleasure of meeting them all personally today and prior to today as we prepared for the event. And believe me, they're all people we want on our team. And I think you'll all agree by the end of the event this morning. In the interest of time, just so you're all aware, I'm not going to be reading the names, the full bios of the participants. We'll just be introducing them by name, their organization, and their title. But their full bios are available under the speaker profile that you see on the screen at both ends of the room, or just that end of the room. I guess there's nothing behind me. So shortly we'll hear from the co-chairs of the group of Friends of Sport for Sustainable Development, followed by a conversation with prominent women in sport driving social change, after which we will turn to presentations of case studies and successful partnerships for social impact. Again, these amazing individuals focus on what they are doing. But first, I'm pleased to get us started with welcoming remarks from my UN colleagues, Maher Nasser, Director of the Outreach Division in the Department of Global Communication, and John Wilmoth, the Officer in charge of the Division for Inclusive Social Development in the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Maher and John, over to you.
Well, thank you, Rob. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues and guests, John and I are really pleased to welcome so many of you here with us in person and extend a warm welcome to everyone following us online, and maybe a special shout out to Carlos Islam. Many of you have dealt with Carlos preparing for this event. Unfortunately, he's homesick with fever, so I know he's watching. So Carlos, thank you. Today's event marks the 2024 International Day of Sports for Development and Peace, which this year falls on Saturday. I didn't think we will see many of you here if we held it on Saturday, so we had to advance by 2 days. The theme of this observance is sport for the promotion of peaceful and inclusive societies. And I think it's really heartwarming to see people who are actively engaged in the sport with us today. I remember the first observance of the International Day, the room was mainly diplomats. We want diplomats to be engaged, but I think since it's about sports, it's good to have people from the sport with us. So you introduced me already, so I don't need to read this about myself. So, John.
Well, yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'm John Wilmoth, the Acting Director or Officer in charge of the Division for Inclusive Social Development in the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Our office houses the substantive portfolio and mandate on sport for development and peace within the UN Secretariat. And Mayor's division is responsible for communications surrounding sport and related issues. And we're very pleased to be co-organizing this event today, along with our friends from the permanent missions of Qatar and Monaco.
So every year on this International Day, we invite athletes and organizations that have made a commitment to sustainable development and peace to showcase these here and to share good practices and opportunities for collaboration. And I'm sure that everybody here understands the transformative power of sport and its potential to drive positive and social change. I'm very grateful to my colleagues who have created an impressive program today, with the opportunity to engage with a number of major sporting organizations, including representatives responsible for two of the largest global sporting events this summer, the 2024 Paris Olympics and the UEFA's Euro football tournament in Germany. And we have the IOC representative here, and we have, of course, Michele from UEFA with us. Thank you.
As Mayor mentioned, this year's International Day of Sport for Development and Peace provides an opportunity to explore how sport contributes to the promotion of peaceful and inclusive societies. You will have heard many times already that we have passed more than halfway through the period of implementation, the period for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, and yet we are far behind on achieving the SDGs. In fact, we are overall less than 15% along the way towards completion of the SDGs, with only 6 years remaining. Today's discussions and presentations will engage athletes and leaders in sport who are driving action to advance many of the SDGs, including the fight against racism, promoting gender equality, and taking effective action on climate change. We hope that their advocacy will serve as an inspiration for all of us to do more.
So you heard SDG 17. Many people ask, why are there 17 SDGs? Go back to 2015 and we'll tell you the story. There's a story of how we got to that. But SDG 17 is not spoken often about, but it is the one about partnerships. It highlights the role of partnerships in the endeavor, bringing together governments, the private sector, civil society, and of course now sport and sporting institutions to leverage the collective resources and expertise. It is with this in mind that our Department of Global Communications, launched Football for the Goals initiative in the summer of 2022. And Football for the Goals provides a platform to mobilize the global football community to champion action on the SDGs and to drive behavioral change and sustainable practices in the football industry. I'm very pleased that we will hear from representatives of some of the most prominent members of Football for the Goals today, including Concacaf. If you thought that only the UN uses acronyms that are difficult to, so just listen to Concacaf, CONMEBOL, UEFA, FIFA, so you just get into that. Generation Amazing, UEFA, the National Women's Soccer League, and Seattle Reign Football Club.
And Football for the Goals is but the latest example in a long line of UN collaborations with sporting communities, ranging from the World Health Organization's partnership with FIFA to promote healthy lifestyles, to initiatives of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime to work with global sports organizations to safeguard sporting events and competitions from corruption and violence. Through today's event, we look forward to strengthening existing relationships and inspiring new collaborations with people and organizations, both in the room and online.
So we're both really looking forward to hearing a productive international and discussions through the International Day of Sports for Development and Peace, and we anticipate hearing from athletes, professionals, as they share their invaluable experiences. We would like to thank all colleagues as well as our co-organizers, the permanent missions of Monaco, Principality of Monaco and the State of Qatar, and to the United Nations who have supported the organization of today's event. And thank you very much for being with us here and online. And back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Maher and John, and I particularly like the team approach that the two of you had. I didn't realize that was how you were going to make the presentation, but it gets us really off on the right note and sets the tone for the day. And I'd also like to express my thanks to Qatar and Monaco for their support, not only of this event, but the support they provide us year-round through the group of friends. And I'd now like to turn to Ambassador Mohammed Al Nasser, Deputy Permanent Representative of the State of Qatar to the UN, and Ambassador Daphne Lesson, Deputy Permanent Representative and Chargé d'Affaires of the Principality of Monaco to the UN. Ambassador Al Nasser, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Robert, for the introduction. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of Her Excellency, Sheikh Ali Ahmed bin Saif Al Thani, Permanent Representative of the State of Qatar to the UN and co-chair of the Group of Friends of Sport for Development and Peace. At the outset, we wish to thank the UN Department of Global Communications and DESA for organizing today's event in celebration of the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. emphasizing the role of sport as a tool to promote peaceful and inclusive societies. The state of Qatar recognizes the importance of sport as an important enabler of sustainable development and peace. Sport is a pillar of the country's National Vision 2030, and we are one of the few countries in the world to dedicate a national holiday to sports on the second Tuesday of February each year. In our view, sport promotes a culture of tolerance and pluralism, inclusion, respect for human rights, and equality. Key values for bettering society and building resilient communities. The state of Qatar utilizes that power to its fullest potential. In this regard, we were honored to host the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. This historic event, the first in the Middle East and the Arab region, demonstrated the power of sport to unite people, showing that harmony and solidarity are possible. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we must acknowledge the important role that mega sporting events play in fostering stability, hope, and unity among peoples, while also serving as a platform to advance the values and objectives of the United Nations. Looking ahead, we look forward to the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Paris 2024 and the ability they bring to unite the entire world in peaceful competition. This year's International Day of Sport for Development and Peace, unfortunately, takes place against the backdrop of the catastrophic war in Gaza, which has led the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinians, coupled with an inhuman humanitarian crisis affecting peaceful societies. We have called for an immediate ceasefire and the urgent and unhindered entry of humanitarian aid to all areas of the Strip, as per Security Council Resolution 2728 and other General Assembly resolutions. We welcome that today's program includes a segment dedicated to prominent women in sports who drive significant social change. Among the participants, it is an honor to have Fatma Naimi, Communications Executive Director of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy of the State of Qatar, who played an instrumental role in the delivery of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. We also welcome a session on Concacaf and Generation Amazing, capacity building for social development programming, and we are delighted with the participation of Mr. Nasser Al-Khouri, Executive Director, Generation Amazing, from the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy of the State of Qatar. Generation Amazing exemplifies the profound influence of football in fostering human development, leadership skills, and educational opportunities. In closing, we would like to reiterate that the group of Friends of Sport for Development and Peace would continue to promote the positive values of sport and contribute to conflict resolution and sustainable development. We look forward to the summit of the future and are actively advocating for the inclusion of a paragraph recognizing the importance of sport as an important enabler of sustainable development and peace in the Pact of the Future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Al Nasser. Ambassador Lesson, over to you.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today for this 11th celebration of the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. Every year, this celebration highlights different aspects of the tremendous potential of sport as an enabler of peace and sustainable development. It always highlights the fact that sport is so much more than a game and that it plays a crucial role to improve the life of people. This is a very important topic for my delegation. Indeed, as the co-chair of the Group of Friends of Sport for Sustainable Development since 2010, Monaco has always been very committed to raise awareness on the positive impact of sport, as it is a great catalyst that can be used at all levels, should it be professional, amateur, or grassroots, to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. We are very much looking forward to hearing the various speakers on their work at all levels, from local sport initiatives to major international sport events, and their best practices, partnerships, and strategies to promote sport and sustainable development. The values that sport conveys, such as teamwork, friendship, tolerance, respect, solidarity, and fair play, help bring people together, build social connections, and a sense of community. Sport unites generations across national barriers and cultural differences. This conviction led the group of Friends of Sport for Sustainable Development to work for sport to be more and more integrated on the political agenda. Recently, as my colleague mentioned, the co-chairs Monaco and Qatar submitted language for the Pact for the Future, and we are currently working on language to be submitted for the Declaration on Future Generations. And we are counting on everyone's support for sport to be duly considered in these important political documents. Sport promotes physical health and mental health, fosters social inclusion and crime prevention, and advances gender equality. Through sport, women and girls can be empowered, and the fact that for the first time in history, full gender parity will be achieved among athletes competing in the Olympic Games in Paris is very encouraging. So we're also very excited to hear today from the experiences and achievements of women in the sports sector and how to harness the power of sport for the promotion of peaceful and inclusive societies. Thank you.
So a big thank you to both ambassadors for being with us here today. I'm sure you can all see why we feel so fortunate to have Qatar and Monaco leading our efforts through sport, pushing sport into UN resolutions and really making a difference about the integration of sport in all the work we do, particularly around the Sustainable Development Goals. So big thank you to you both again. I would now like to invite the UN's Undersecretary General for Global Communications, Melissa Fleming, and the other panel members for our conversation, Prominent Women in Sport Driving Social Change, to move to these seats at the head of the table. And you'll have to bear with us for a moment as we make this sometimes awkward transition between seats. So thank you.
Thanks, Rob, and thanks to our introductory panelists. And it's a real pleasure to be here today with such an amazing group of speakers, sports leaders, who have put sustainable development and positive change into the work that they do. And in our UN communications efforts, we have to connect to people where they are and through the activities and the issues they care about. So it's without a doubt, it's really important to us this is an issue that we all, there's so many issues that we all care about, but I think one binding connector for so many people in our world is sport. And that's why we, as a department, put so much emphasis on bringing the goals introducing the goals through the beauty of sport and through the passion of sport. It helps us to deliver a message. As we heard from the ambassador of Qatar, it is really a challenging time in the news, not just in the situation in the Middle East, but in many parts of the world, in Sudan, in Ukraine, and in for our planet. That said, for us, it is really important that while we're working for peace, we're working to end conflict, we're working for a transition to renewable energy, we're working to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we need to keep a vision in mind. We have to keep a positive and optimistic spirit in mind. And what better people to work with than those who can drive change through sport. Whether it is those of you who perform for us, who participate, or it's through the fans, we all know that you all really care. And our speakers today have decided to use their powerful platforms for good. And they're not just talking about change, they're actually doing it with their organizations. And we could not be happier that they're working with us at the UN to expand the world of change makers through sports. And I would like to welcome a group of those people leading the way. And so I'd like to introduce first to my left, Ms. Fatma Al-Nuaimi, who is the Communications Executive Director of the Supreme Committee for the Delivery and Legacy of State of Qatar. Also, Steph Hirsch, Community Engagement and Social Impact Manager of the Seattle Reign FC soccer team. And on my right, Sasha DiGiulian, World Champion rock climber and advocate for our winters. And last but not least, Bea Kim, a professional snowboarder on the USA ski and snowboard team, and also an advocate for Protect Our Winters. We are really excited to hear from you, not just about your professional lives, but how you are using your work to drive change that can improve our world. But I think also protecting our winters means to maintain the existence of your sport. So I'd like to start first with Fatma and Steph, who both work in global football or soccer, as some of us call it, especially in this country. You work for very different organizations, and Fatma, your most recent work has been around the 2020 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. And Steph with Seattle Reign FC, the National Women's Soccer League team in the United States. So Fatma, in the lead up to the World Cup and now, and in the wake of that amazing final between Argentina and France, what has the experience looked like for you?
For me, I mean, like I joined the Supreme Committee in 2012. So it's been over a decade in working on this project. But for me, I would like to start from the beginning. I mean, like the importance of these mega events, it helped to inspire a lot, and especially women, actually, to join. So me looking back when I was young in 2006, Doha has hosted the Asian Games. It was one of the biggest sporting events back then, at that time. And I remember attending the opening and actually watching the tournament closely, the competition closely. And for me, I was really inspired. I really wanted to be part of the workforce, but I couldn't at that time because of my age. But I mean, like, this is actually what drove me to join sports. And from back then, I started volunteering in all of the upcoming hosting competition. And this is where I actually led my way professionally into that. So when Qatar actually have hosted the World Cup, and when they announced of the bid in 2010, we as a country, we felt emotional, proud, and we know like how this was actually more and bigger than a football tournament. For us, I think it was an opportunity on a global stage to use this tournament and to do a social impact and a social change. Things that, like, from a social perspective, I think when it comes to the football development, my colleague Nasser Al-Khouri will cover that in detail. But I mean, like, even from a human perspective, when it comes, for example, to workers' rights and workers' welfare, also like the environmental legacy, the social legacy, the impact of this tournament has been huge. And maybe like the biggest thing, it's the misconception that the people have to this part of the world. A lot of people have a different view, especially when it comes to the Middle East, to women. And these type of global events actually help to bridge the gap between the East and the West, and people understand each other. At the end of the day, we all share our common passion for football and for sports, and I don't think there is a better platform and strong than actually sports and football to help bridging this gap.
Maybe just a quick follow-up. How did it change the misconception, in your view, of women, and what kind of opportunities did women have including you, at the World Cup?
For us, I mean, like, because working in the communications department, I look over a lot of different functions, like the international relations. We do have like a fan engagement team. We also have community engagement. So we've been focusing locally with the different communities. I mean, Qatar, it's a very diverse country. We have a lot of nationalities actually in Qatar, and also like for all the fans around the world, whether from the competing nations or not, who actually like to attend football. We've been always having this open communications and dialogue through the football associations that they wanted to understand more, because a lot of people have understanding that Qatar might not be secure. Is it safe for women to travel there? Are women suppressed in that part of the world? So there is, I mean, a lot of issues when it comes to Islamophobia and women and things, and a lot of people might have a stand of would they would want to contribute to come to this World Cup or not. So actually having a lot of these conversations, hosting these events, and having this dialogue and open communication help in actually bridging a lot of this misperception. And you can see, I mean, like the impact. Qatar actually have been heavily criticized over like the 10 years as we built the tournament, and a lot of actually issues. But we have been consistent in delivery, and we thought, I mean, actually, instead of focusing on educating and talking people, actually, we want to show them by action. And I think actually delivering the World Cup, and after the tournament, you can see all of the perception have been actually changed when it comes to the tournament. So after actually December, a lot of people, like over 1 million who came and visited Qatar, have seen something different, have understand, I mean, like the culture, how hospitable nation we are, and they've been actually, I mean, surprised. And you can see like how that reflected in the perception.
So yeah, I'm sure it wasn't just about perceptions, and maybe when you come back, you can comment on that too, because of course, everyone who hosts the World Cup, you know, makes commitments and does change things, including running a sustainable World Cup, and you alluded to some of that. So congratulations on all of those steps that you took and those measures and having such a successful World Cup. And Steph, I would imagine your experiences might look quite different working with a more local community and city-based team. Can you tell us what led you to Seattle Reign and what your job entails?
Absolutely. First of all, it's an honor for our club to be here. And before I go into anything, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm standing on the land of the Cayuga, Oneida, Seneca, and Mohawk people, and that Seattle sits on the Duwamish and Coast Salish peoples, and we honor in gratitude the land itself. How did I end up all the way in Seattle? I actually started here in New York City. Yes, I was born at NYC Hospital or NYU Hospital, but before that and all of that, I started working at Major League Baseball, which is down over in Secaucus now, but was at the Chelsea market. And when I was at MLB, I saw a lot of injustice when it came to people of color, when it came to folks who played softball, and what we were up against when we were creating content, when we are living in a hyper-masculine, hyper-cisgender world, and especially in sport, it's that way. And so my wife, who's in the room here at the time, was working for Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and she looked at me and she said, "What are you really doing? How are you really making change in this world?" And I thank her every single day for that and for getting to wake up next to her. So it's pretty amazing. We have a pretty special relationship and I love it. But that's a lot more about me than you probably wanted to know. That's okay. I'm a very proud partner. But all to say, when I was there and seeing those injustices, it just felt that with my privilege and power, I could do something better. Rather than just doing broadcasting or content creation. So I went to the University of Washington and got my master's in systems approach-based communications, which is how we take social work principles and create life-saving resources through the lens of communication. And so from there, my professors knew I was very much wanting to be a part of women's sports and had plenty of experience. 2014, worked in the NWSL. 2016, I worked for the WNBA and the NWSL. And so they said, let's get out of sports. We need to get out of sports. Why? Because if we're going to learn how to speak in terms of the lenses of diversity, equity, and inclusion, we have to consider the other systems that are around us, especially our SDGs that are here, and social determinants of health. All to say, I started working for the Seattle Department of Transportation, helped build the first transit equity programs in the United States, alongside a wonderful team of social workers who re-raised me, as well as local government officials. I also worked for the COVID-19 Vaccinate Washington campaign with Governor Jay Inslee and his staff, working across the state to try to understand why people didn't want to take the vaccine. And so taking these health lenses as well as climate lenses, and also working for King County Hazardous Waste, as well as the Solid Waste Division, we had to work with community to understand their environments around them. So that's a lot outside of sport, but then we took those and I brought them back to sport because women's sports is important to me, but also gender diversity in women's sports is important to me and all sports. So coming back to Seattle Reign was no question because our players are the reason why I come back. Players like Lauren Barnes, who I'm sitting in the seat for today, who is our leader in sustainability. She's literally H2T, head to toe, in fully made sustainable clothes every single day. She additionally is vegan. She is one of the only players that has played every single minute and started every single minute in the NWSL. And that is a testament to her commitment to sustainability, as well as our general manager. So Santiago, with his background from Colombia, he is a sustainability expert and also a football expert. So we get very lucky at our club and working in a city like Seattle that has a climate action plan. So we're very closely coordinated with that city. That's why I joined Seattle Reign FC, because we're in the thick of a lot of the social justice issues that we're not only seeing in the United States, but globally as well.
Thanks so much. And I think it makes a huge difference when players walk the talk. And first of all, when teams adopt the SDGs and make the commitment, but then the fans are attracted to the players, and then the ripple effects are felt there. So I might come back to you a little bit on the impact of your work, and maybe ask Fatma also, in the work that you do, especially as it relates to the SDGs and sustainable development goals, including gender equality, including equality in sports. What kind of impact do you think Qatar has made, hosting the World Cup has made on sports and sustainability?
The legacy is actually in the core of everything we have done since the bid, and that's why I think in our name, it's a very long name, the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, to actually highlight that the legacy of this event is equally important as delivering it. So we started actually from the moment when we bid a lot of actually different legacy programs. I mean, Generation Amazing, Nasser will be touching on when it comes as well, like to development in football and inclusion of women and men. But I mean, like other than these legacy programs that I've been involved in when establishing its Jusur Institute, it's actually the academic arm of the Supreme Committee, was actually to ensure all of the workforce that within the Middle East, like in the Arab world and in Qatar, actually been educated, and to actually have our network of expertise, instead of relying on international expertise to deliver the event and to go away. So this actually program is led by a female executive director. We have a lot of actually women who have been part of this program and actually ended up delivering in the tournament over than 3,000 graduates of this program. We also have another program which is Challenge 22. It's an innovation program for the entrepreneurs and innovators within the region in the Middle East to actually participate in delivering the World Cup with their business ideas, so we can actually help and support them. And I was happy actually to see the majority of the submissions come from females and actually have been shortlisted and won the investment. So for example, one of the companies is Viave. It's an entertainment and destination experience app by a Jordanian female who actually have been listed by the World Economic Forum to the 100 top Arab startups. And you can see, like these programs and these actually entrepreneurs we have believed in and supported and funded, they actually made their way now to the market, and we help actually support them as part of the legacy of the World Cup. So, and also like when it comes personally to me, I mean, I'm leading the communications and media department, and I also ensure like to commit to have a lot of actually, there's the majority of my team are women, because I can see, I mean, like, you can see, I mean, the opportunities to engage in the football and the sport industry, it's being seen or perceived a lot of a male dominant. So I wanted to make sure, I mean, like this commitment to allow and to have more opportunities for young women to be part of the workforce. We have as well, like as an organizational commitment from a macro level, a lot of the executives actually for a key functional within the organization led by women, whether from accommodation and hospitality, tournament services, our legal counsel is a woman, and a lot of these actually, maybe 4 or 5 actually holding positions on a higher level when it comes to the tournament. So we made sure like to that the representations of women within the delivery of these tournaments is actually wide and part of this success. So I mean, like this is like one of the contribution and the legacy, and you can as well see like from a fan perspective, not only from the industry perspective, you can see actually how these tournaments change a lot of perception of the society. You wouldn't see a lot of females actually before in the past would be going to the stadiums and enjoy the games, but you can see actually this has been shifted after the World Cup. We hosted the AFC, the Asian Games earlier this year, and you can see a lot of women, children, and a lot of people actually going and engaging in sports. So I mean, like this is like the legacy impact of this tournament and the involvement from a societal and as well like from a
Thanks for that. Yeah, because I think there's also a perception that there's a whole lot of build up to the World Cup and then it just ends. So, but I think the same. I'd love to. I see you brought a scarf that is your team's scarf. Maybe you can.
It sure is.
It sure
it's
is.
Our,
Yes,
it's our brand new logo, as a matter of fact.
I wonder how many people know your team, and if you could just describe what Seattle Reign is as a team, how it was established, how it is doing, and what it stands for in particular, and beyond just being beyond the primary goal, I'm sure, is being an amazing team with great players. What does it stand for in terms of making our world a better place?
Absolutely. Yes, we are a National Women's Soccer League team. In fact, we're one of the originating National Women's Soccer League teams. We've been a part of the league since 2013, but as we know in the United States, our women's league has kind of seen different shapes and forms, whether that be the WUSA, whether that be the WSL, or whether that now be the NWSL. So our club was kind of one of the very first clubs to start with Sounders FC, who now is an owner of the Seattle Reign FC of the Major League Soccer. So we started off as Sounders Women, and then we branched off into our own movement. There was definitely some really interesting kind of politics that go into all of this, but the point of it being that our players are at the center of everything we do. We are one of the only player-centered led models in the country, from what I understand, when it comes to the way that we actually do social impact and community engagement work. So, for example, I talked a lot about Lauren Barnes, but there might be a player that folks know in here that was formerly with us. Raise your hands if you all know of a superstar named Megan Rapinoe. Megan Rapinoe, first of all, just an incredible mentor for me to learn from and to watch just embody what social justice and what excellence looks like from every level of sport to being a human. And so when you have a player like that who leaves such a lasting legacy globally, for us, we had to build a player-centered led model. What does that mean? It means that our players have decided what are the 4 pillars that we work out of our club. That would be sustainability. That's why we're here today, and that's why we're with Football for the Goals. Women and gender diverse rights. Women and gender diverse rights meaning that we also have a player on our team who identifies as transgender. We have staff members like myself who identify as non-binary. We have folks in our club that we have to lead with an intersectional gender lens. And so because of those things too, we lead in that direction, DEI as well as mental health. There are a lot of different initiatives. I'm more than happy to talk to you about them, but the success stems from the team not only winning shields, but from the social work that they're doing on the ground hyper-locally. And so for me, what this club has represented since 2013 is truly the hyper-local grassroots vision that Marla Messing, who created the 1999 Women's World Cup in the United States and the success that it had, and Fatima, I mean, incredible work that you all did in Qatar too. I mean, it's what we as women have done forever, right? We have led. We will continue to lead the movement in how we see sport changing over time. And I am really excited to see the growth of the NWSL. I know we have some colleagues in here from the league, and we went from, a league really trying to figure out where our streaming was to now having a $530 million television deal with ABC, NBC, CBS, and Scripps. So this is a very large movement that is going someplace. And for us, our club, we just sold. So consider this, 4 years ago, our club was worth $3 million. Today, we sold for $58 million. That's 4 years later. That is the exponential growth. And I'm just very excited to be a part of this team and the growth that it has with it, whether it be our players leading it on the ground or on the field.
Well, thank you so much. Also, congratulations on your role in bringing women's soccer to the place where it deserves to be in terms of equal pay and financial sustainability, and television stations putting their money where their mouth is. So thanks for that. Now I'd like to introduce my two other panelists. To my right, two elite outdoor athletes. As I already mentioned, Bea Kim is a professional snowboarder on the USA ski and snowboard team, and at just 17 years old has finished her first full year on the World Cup circuit in third place. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And Bea is the youngest member of the U.S. Pro Halfpipe snowboard team and is working towards her 2026 Winter Olympic debut. We're also extremely honored to welcome Sasha D. Julian, a world champion professional rock climber. Sasha holds a 10-year undefeated reign as Pan American champion and has accomplished over 30 first female ascents around the world. Bea and Sasha are members of the Protect Our Winters Athletes Alliance. And Protect Our Winters is a nonprofit organization that advocates for law reform on environmental issues and climate action. Thank you so much for joining us. And can I ask you both, first of all, and let's focus in on, we could talk, I'm sure, the entire day about your incredible athletic accomplishments, but if you could tell us how your journeys as athletes have led you to become climate advocates. I'll start with you, Bea.
Yes, thank you. My personal journey is very simple. I grew up in the outdoors with my family. We would go camping and surfing, and I credit a lot of my closeness to my family with the time that we spent outdoors together. And I was able to create a deep love for the outdoors through that time. And now at 17, I'm very lucky to say that I've created an environment and a career for myself where I get to be outdoors most of the time and most of my days. And through my travels as a professional snowboarder, I've gone around the world to Europe and New Zealand training and competing, and I've seen one common theme throughout. I've seen how the world is changing. The glaciers are melting that we're actually riding on. Our winters are starting later. The weather patterns are becoming more erratic, and each year we wonder if there'll even be enough snow for us to compete and do what we love. And through seeing this, I've decided I wanted to help get involved with the movement, but I didn't know how that could work or what I would even be doing. So I was able to get in touch with Protect Our Winters with POW. And they invited me out to their summit, where I was extremely nervous because at the time I was 15 and I didn't know if I would have anything to contribute to the conversation or if I should be there. But I attended, and I sat in rooms with other athletes and scientists and creatives who were all these different people from all different walks of life doing different things with the main goal of speaking about climate change and how we can protect our environment. And it really opened my eyes and changed my perspective on the world. And I realized that I could use my platform as an athlete to advocate for the places that I love. And it also showed me that I don't have to know every little science detail and everything about policy. I can share my story and hopefully create an impact that way.
I think that's also, I think, an inspiration for other young people who might say, what do I have to say at my age? In fact, it is the future that you're fighting for your own future.
Yeah.
And all young people. So what would you say to them to inspire them to make a change in the world?
I would give them the same advice that I try to remind myself is to not let fear get in the way of doing something that I'm passionate about, and not let worrying if I'm doing it the right way prevent me from using my voice and speaking out. As an action sports athlete, I face fear every day. Every day I walk up onto that mountain, I'm scared. And every day that I drop into the half pipe, which is 22 feet tall on either side and made of ice, I'm scared. And oftentimes I meet people and they tell me, wow, you must be like so fearless. You don't have fear to be able to do what you do. But it couldn't be more far from the truth. I have fear. It's just how I manage it and how I deal with it, because I've decided that I want that my love for the sport and my passion for it to do well and have success and to continue doing it is greater than what I'm scared of doing. And that plays the same role in my advocacy journey. I've been scared at the summit. I was scared today coming here. But this cause is more important than my own personal fears. And I want to just remind young people that your voice matters and people want to hear your perspective. And just like how people at the summit, I was surprised, they wanted to hear what I had to say. Because we are the future of the world and we're going to be living in it. So it's important what we have to say. And yeah, don't be afraid.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's funny that you said, because I think what studies say that most people's greatest fear is public speaking.
Yeah.
So you said that you were afraid to come today. I could say, if you were afraid of doing it, keep doing it, because you're a fantastic public speaker.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure a snowboarder as well.
Thank you very much.
Sasha, climate change can be an overwhelming issue for many people. And as an athlete, what has been the most effective use of your platform to make a difference on the climate change issue? And, you know, maybe just also how being so close to the climate, to the, you know, visible, both of you, you on glaciers and you on mountains, you know, how has this impacted your passion to work to raise awareness around climate change and saving our winters?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for supporting both women in sport, but also our climate. It's a really important aspect to outdoor adventure sports and all of us living around the world. I started climbing when I was 6 years old, and I grew up in a city, and that was not typical of adventure sport athletes. A lot came from mountain towns, and it was through my competition success that I built my career within climbing. And climbing's taken me to over 50 different countries around the world, and through it, I've experienced some of the most stunning landscapes and connected with people and cultures in remote pockets around the world, from the Middle East to Africa to Asia, and of course, Europe and North America. And what I've experienced on my expeditions, we're living in really remote areas where we're experiencing extreme weather patterns, and that results in extreme rockfall instances. We also experience the delayed aspect of extreme heat pushing expeditions, which would normally take place in a different season, to changing extreme weather patterns that we do have to account for our own safety. And so when I graduated from high school, I was actually invited to go and lobby on Capitol Hill around climate legislation. And that was where my journey started. Was I had built this big platform through sport, and I actually had people that would listen to me. And it was always really important that I was doing things beyond just climbing mountains and the cliffs that I climb. What I do is big wall climbs, and what I've learned is that big walls show us that we may be small, but together we're capable of doing big things. And so I think that it's really important to shine light on the way that we can protect both our sport, but also the people around the world that depend on climate advocacy.
May I just ask you what your message to policymakers was around climate?
Yeah, there's a lot of different layers to that. Protecting our public lands is one, supporting clean air and legislation around the areas that we both climb and recreate the outdoor industry. Through Protect Our Winters, we have statistics that it's over 50 million people that select to be active in the outdoors, which creates a $1.1 trillion GDP in America alone. So there's a huge industry, so creating more green job economy and support around ecotourism. I've used climbing to help bolster areas around the world, like in remote areas of Indonesia, to develop alternative spaces to create an economy instead of mining and extractive industry.
That's impressive, and it also is relatable to so many people. I mean, how many people did you just say are involved in winter and sports?
50 million people are in the outdoor state as a part of the Protect Our Winters statistics.
Amazing. And so if people understand that hobby, that passion that they have is threatened, then maybe they can all rise up and we can change in the way you just indicated. Thank you so much for what you do. I'm going to do one quick final flash round and just go in this direction. Is there anything you're optimistic about related to the advocacy you do? Tell us.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic because, first of all, I think optimism is the only way. I also think that we have a generation of people that care, and we're both very connected now, but also disconnected. And so I think that having opportunities like this to all be together in person and talk about issues that really matter is exceedingly important. But I also think that the more people get outside, the more they care about protecting the landscapes that we fall in love with and create memories around.
Yes, exactly what Sasha said. Even just sitting here and having this conversation today is an optimistic mindset for the future. And just, again, being outside and being able to experience all of these joys is something that everyone should love. And that's it. If you love it, then you would want to protect it. And as 50 million people do love it, then we are in a hopeful future to make more movements to protect.
What's the website so people can sign up and get involved?
Protectourwinters.org? Yeah,
Protectourwinters.org. Okay.
Yes, join Team POW.
Padma, how about you?
I think, with the development, there will be few challenges. However, I can see things are getting better and going to the right direction. And I think sharing this platform with an amazing, inspirational woman here is a testament for that. So I think we're going to the right direction.
That's very hopeful. Let's hope so. And Steph?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two things I'm really the most excited about seeing as women's sports, gender diverse sports grow is intersectionality, meaning the social identities, right, that we all have within us, meaning race, ethnicity, gender, sex, all of these things. How does this interact with sport, right? I'm excited to see how this transforms in the women's sports movement. And I'm also very excited about player voice. When we talk about player voice, I worked with Mary Harvey at the Center for Sport and Human Rights during our COVID-19 campaign. And the most important thing she said during COVID-19 was that players finally had the opportunity to use their voices in a powerful way to be able to advocate for the things that they need for their health and for their communities. And so when we think about the Seattle Reign FC, right, we talked a little bit about those sustainability pillars that we talked, or sustainability and all the other community pillars that we discussed. But when we think about intersectionality and player voice, every player has a different social identity, and every identity is going to be different than the next player, and it's most certainly going to be different than the front office that serves them. The majority of people in the front office, including myself, identify as white. And because of that, we do not often see the diversity on the field that we want to. And so when we think about whether it be gender diversity, right? I am non-binary. I also have ADHD, right? And so when we think about intersectionality and we think about where the studies have gone, right? We think about how, through the Journal of Psychology and Clinical Psychopharmacology, that yes, you can be gender diverse, but also 75% of those 20 people that they looked at were also either ADHD or had autism. We need to think about and consider the way that when somebody walks into a space, a player walks into a space, I walk into a space, Fatma walks into a space, that we all meet each other with equity at the very beginning. And that is where I'm really excited for sport. Lauren Barnes, too, I'm going to keep putting her name out there because for her intersectionality, it's so important. Sustainability, I mean, her brand has grown from 10,000 followers to 25K followers simply because of how she advocates for sustainably made clothing, as well as for, just being the player that she is, and also working on things like beach cleanups that are around our city, as well as other, sustainable partnerships that work with small businesses to be able to create that synergy. So for me, player voice and intersectionality go hand in hand. And when we think about these social principles that come together in sport where we can all live, play, grow, and be happy and healthy, especially for women and immigrants, which is where Santiago and Lauren come in, why they came together, why we're at Football for the Goals. Because immigration, as well as migrants and folks that identify in that way, as well as women, children, gender diverse people are often the brunt of climate change. And so for us to use our voices powerfully right now is really important. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Thanks so much, Steph. Live, play, be happy, be healthy. Let's end on that positive note. And thanks to you, thanks to Fatma, Sasha, Bea as well. And just before we move on, we are pleased to have a representative of the U.S. National Women's Soccer League with us, Tatiana Haney, who is the Chief Sporting Director of the National Women's Soccer League, or NWSL, also a former international soccer player. And I'm happy to note that NWSL is a member of the UN's Football for the Goals initiative. The league has received a lot of positive press attention and is seeing great viewership numbers with the new season underway. So if I could just ask you to comment, Tatiana, on the success of the league and how you see its engagement with Football for the Goals to support the SDGs.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the nice welcome. It's an honor to be here. We're a rather new member, and I'm representing our commissioner, Jessica Berman, who is with the league since April 2022. And the ones familiar with women's soccer in this country know that there were some issues in the past. 2 leagues folded, and this is now the 3rd league, and we're super happy to, I think, confirm that we really are convinced this is going the only way and the right way. Some of the figures have been mentioned by Steph. So the last team was sold for $130 million, the San Diego Waves. There's an expansion process going on for a 16-team starting in the league in 2026, and we don't know those numbers, but I would assume it's in the same area, if not above. So I think the strength of this league is really its independency. We're the only independent, self-financed women's football, as I call it, league in the world. And I think this independency gives us the power to do strategic, wise decisions. It's women and men, so it's not women in women's football. It's the best people for the best product. So yes, we do have a majority of women involved in the staffing, of course. But our problem almost is finding good men helping us driving the product forward. So please apply if you're interested. I think that's the key. It's women's football experts only working for women's football and making sure this league is the best in the world. So I can only echo what Steph said. The players are in the center. This country has very successful women's football players and very vocal ones, and thanks to them, I think partly thanks to them, we are where we are. But that's not the end of the road. There's still a bit of a path to go. Salary, of course, is a topic. We are far from equal pay. But we have all players in this league are fully professional. I think, again, the only league in the world where every player is basically employed, some very low salaries partly. So that's something which, of course, more investment will help to build that up. What can I say? We, on a sporting area, we really try to make the best environment for players. We're trying to improve training sites. Stadiums are really good, I think, but some of the training centers, training facilities need improvement. But we did improve on the technical staff, so more people, mental health, player safety, nutritionists, all those things really come more and more into play, and I think we're on a really good way there. From the welfare, environmental side of things, also we rolled out after Jessica Berman came in and the crisis the league was in 3 years ago. There's reporting tools for players, there's policies and guidelines, very strict policies and guidelines. Every staff close to the team has a background check. Unfortunately, we still have, I think, continue to have a few minor issues, but over time we should be in a position to really say we feel the players are safe in this league and can actually do their job. So we feel confident. We feel that this is a good way to go. Thanks to ownership who believes in women's sports, in women, in diversity, in equality. And this is the reason why we're here. We think we can be an asset to the goals, to the SDG goals. We believe in it. We want to have the right values, the right mission. And we're looking forward to partnering and working with everybody just to make sure we work all together, as most of you have said, to make sure we make this world a better place for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tatiana, and thanks to all of our esteemed speakers here for sharing your inspiring ideas with us and experiences, and a special thank you to all member states for the group of Friends of Sport for Development and Peace and for their steadfast leadership in pushing forward this important agenda. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. And I'll hand over to my colleague Rob to introduce the next segment of today's International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. Thank you.
You have to do this quickly, please.
We'll kind of come in as one big family.
Good. Thank you. I'm back. I'm back as we make this transition. I think we should give that amazing panel another round of applause. I have to say, a couple moments there, I got a little emotional hearing some of those stories, and it was really quite incredible. And again, thanks to Melissa for your amazing leadership and the great job that she does with all those conversations and leading us in our department. As we transition into the next segment, which is the case studies and successful partnerships for social impact, we're going to start with a short video from a really excellent effort in Norway that is part of our Football for the Goals initiative, which, as you've heard numerous times already, I feel like we're talking a lot about Football for the Goals, and you're going to hear more, uses the power of football to drive positive social change through the SDG. So if we could run that quick video, please.
We are very proud here at Ullevål to be a part of the Football for the Goals initiative, and we have fully embraced it. with the federation, the leagues, the clubs, the player unions, the media partners and the fans. We hope that our work will inspire the football community to advocate for the sustainable development goals, and we really believe that the global Football for the Goals movement will make a real change.
Based on our experience, Norway was asked by the UN to establish the advisory foundation in support of Football for the Goals, to advise on the directive of Football for the Goals. The foundation is represented by truly global boards consisting of industry experts and influential football leaders.
I think that's a fantastic example of the Norwegians using Goal 17, partnerships for the goals, and with Lise Klaveness of the Norwegian Football Association bringing that all together throughout the football system in Norway. And we will hear more from football, as in soccer, for the goals and the goals members shortly. But now I would like to turn to the U.S. version of football for a really amazing example of sport and athletes driving social change. So I'd like to welcome Angela up to the podium here, and it's Angela LaChica, who is a CEO of LaChica Sports and Entertainment Group and a managing director of the Players Coalition, to discuss the work that they're doing, the Players Coalition is doing with the NFL for social change. I'd also note, and I think we have the connection with Anquan Bolden, who's a former NFL player, actually a former NFL star, who I believe is going to be a Hall of Famer, at least definitely should be in my opinion. He only spent one year with my team, though, the Detroit Lions, which we would have liked to have kept him around a little bit longer. But we think we have him by WebEx. I don't think we're going to be able to see him live, but we're going to be able to hear from him. And as many of you braved the weather coming into New York yesterday, we appreciate the efforts, but Anquan made huge efforts to get here with his entire family, but they could not get from Florida to New York last night, which a lot of folks were trying to get from Florida to New York last night and were not able to do it because of the weather. So we thank Anquan with a great deal of appreciation for being able to join us via the WebEx, which I'm looking to my colleagues to make sure he's there. Do we have confirmation that we can hear him? Anquan, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for making a way to a connection after your ordeal with your family yesterday. Basically, these next segments are more presentations and conversations. These are folks that have taken the SDGs to heart and are just going to talk to us and explain to us what they're doing to drive the social change that we're all looking for and we all need, and we just heard about in the previous segment. So, Angela, I'm going to have to turn it over to you to kind of drive the conversation with Anquan. I know there's a video, and I think we can run the video first.
No.
No. Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
We wanted to talk to Anquan first. Is that
okay. We're going to talk to Anquan Phil. Anquan, over to you, so we can hear from you.
Sir, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity for us to present for the United Nations. Like you said, me and my family were devastated last night when we got delayed a couple times and then eventually canceled because we were really looking forward to coming and meeting you guys in person. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Anquan Bolden, played 14 years in the NFL, and I'm the co-founder of the Players Coalition alongside Malcolm Jenkins. The coalition is made up of former and current players in different sports arenas, basketball, football, lacrosse, soccer. I think we're in 13 different leagues at this moment. But the reason we started the Players Coalition, me personally, I lost a cousin at the hands of law enforcement in 2015. My cousin was a drummer in the band, and on his way home from one of his gigs, he broke down on the side of the road. And breaking down on the side of the road, for him, eventually cost him his life. He was killed by an undercover officer, only for being being broken down on the side of the road. And for me, the tragedy that struck my family that night ignited me to start the Players Coalition. I understood that as a professional athlete, that I had a voice and that I had a platform, and that a lot of times when professional athletes speak, a lot of people listen. So I wanted to use my voice to make a difference in our country and how we address different issues. So after that happened, I started to search out different players in the NFL that were doing work in the community that they live and also in the communities that they played in. And coming, doing that research about the guys in the NFL that was actually doing work already. I think I came up with initially 5 or 6 different guys. And those 5 and 6 different guys, I invited them to come along with me to the Capitol in Washington, D.C. to talk to different congressmen and senators. After talking to those congressmen and senators, we quickly found out that we had to turn our attention to the state and local levels. And that's exactly what we did, beginning to meet with different governors from different states, different DAs, different sheriffs, the people that really make a difference in our day-to-day lives in the communities that we lived in. I think there you have Angela and Rebecca, who's a part of the Players Coalition, and they were a part of the Players Coalition from the beginning. And I think they're going to take you through different slides and show you the work that we were able to do, the pieces of legislation that we were able to get changed in different states across the country, all because we used our voices and we united together. And I think that's one thing that we have to understand, especially in the sports arena. There's a lot of work that we can do on our own, and there's a lot that we can get accomplished on our own. But I think when we come together and we unite and we use our voices collectively, we can make an even greater impact on the changes that we want to see happen in this country. So right now, I'll turn it over to Angela and Rebecca and let them present the slides.
Thank you very much, Anquan. I'll wait for the slides, please. Thank you. Next slide, please. Again, my name is Angela LaChica. Our company is the management firm for Players Coalition. When I first formed LaChica Sports and Entertainment Group, I very intentionally set out to create a space, a professional space for women in the business of sport. As I sit here today, over almost 20 years later, we are proudly an all-female management team. Our mission is to place social change at the forefront of athlete impact. It's a privilege to be here today to share the meaningful work that the Players Coalition is doing in this space, as well as our role behind the scenes in the management side. As many here know, athlete activism can be complex and nuanced. Since its inception, the Players Coalition has reliably had a team of committed females working behind the scenes, all females, from top-level strategists to program managers to player relations specialists, subject matter experts, and more. We've worked alongside many high-profile athletes, and we're keenly aware of the weight that it carries to use their very public platforms with intention and responsibility. One of the things I did want to share about Anquan's, his accolades off the field, was that in 2015, he was recognized with the NFL's most prestigious award for his community stewardship and humanitarian efforts. It's the Walter Payton Man of the Year. It's highly coveted, and I can tell you he's deeply sorry he's not here in person to meet with you, as this has been a really important topic to him. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, sorry. So as he said, Players Coalition was formed. It was really intentionally formed back in 2016 around 4 specific pillars that were important to those NFL athletes at the time. We were able to galvanize players around the league and put them in buckets and create really strategic activations and campaigns based on the issues that were close to their heart and that meant something that they could get behind and speak really authentically to.
And with that, the next slide, please. I'll share just a little bit. Wanted to mention the Players Coalition structure. It's an entirely independent 501c3 organization as well as a 501c4, allowing them to do the charitable and community impact work as well as advocacy and activism around specific legislation and policy that they're hoping to change to address the systemic changes needed in our country. So demonstrating impact that levels up to the Players Coalition's overarching priorities of driving systemic change and investing resources into local communities has been critical to the Players Coalition's success and to its credibility. So some of the impact highlights that we're most proud to share with you include influencing and passing over 30 pieces of legislation over the past 7 years, investing and directing more than $50 million in grant funding to grassroots organizers, schools, community-based organizations that are on the ground at the forefront of this work across the country. We've engaged athletes in activism through more than 125 different op-eds, written testimony, as well as letters to the editor and policy around legislative reforms. Next slide, please. And this highlights just some of the specific legislative wins across the country, from ending juvenile life without parole, restoring voting rights to over 1.4 million citizens with past convictions, among many other critical issues. We can move to the next slide.
So I know we're short on time. Oops. Excuse me, we're short on time, so I'll run through this real quickly. In 2007, the players had organized and went intentionally to the NFL to create a strategic partnership that would amplify the athletes' voices. This resulted in an $89 million commitment from the NFL to social justice efforts. It was a historic commitment made in any space of the organization, in the corporate and nonprofit. The athletes understood that they were going to leverage the NFL's platform, and that was their main ask. What you see here are some very intentional examples of the Players Coalition coming together to create NFL's Inspired Change program. We did initiatives with Say Her Name and the New Orleans Saints, which focused on Black maternal health care. We focused on using the on-field game helmet decals. Let My People Vote was a campaign we did to restore voting rights in several states across the country. So we really were able to activate their platform with intentionality, and making sure that we had calls to action when we used this platform. Next slide, please. So here, what you'll see, on February 2nd, 2020, the power of this partnership reached its pinnacle when the NFL agreed to designate one of its Super Bowl commercial spots to a PSA, bringing attention to Anquan's very personal journey of tragedy turned to purpose. For the NFL to use one of its largest stages to address the issues of racism, police brutality, and lack of accountability directly speaks to the measurable impact and credibility Players Coalition has established over the years. The date is of particular importance, as it was a full 3 months before the world witnessed the tragic killing of George Floyd. The NFL stepped out of its comfort zone and trusted the players as credible messengers in this space long before any other large corporation did so. That year's Super Bowl viewership was estimated at over 100 million people tuning in from around the world. Please play the video.
Yeah, I'll never forget that night. I was still playing with the 49ers, and my wife walks up after the game. They told me that my cousin Corey had been killed. Corey broke down on the side of the road, and a plainclothes police officer pulled up. Then this guy starts screaming. All you hear from there is 3 shots.
Why is my son gone today? Why? He would give you his shirt. He would be cold just to keep you warm.
This officer was in plain clothes. Corey had no way of knowing who he was.
There's just some things that are bigger than football. And I felt like starting the Players Coalition and affecting change in this country was one of those things.
We focused on police community relations, education and economic advancement, and criminal justice reform. Had it not been for the work that we do, Corey's death would have been in vain. The best way to inspire change is to be it.
That is an example of true partnership in action, driven by committed athletes who all have a story and use their platforms with intention.
And so with that, we just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to be here and look ahead at what's next with Players Coalition and the natural evolution of Players Coalition. They've had the opportunity to make such an impact here in the United States and are also open to and looking forward to expanding globally as well with players and working collaboratively, cross-sectionally to really advance change in that space. So did want to take this opportunity to share with you also that natural evolution of Players Coalition has begun as a new organization co-founded by Angela, Anquan, and myself called Sport for Impact that is focused on providing the athletes the empowerment and the resources to leverage the power of sport as the catalyst for social change, both hyper-locally in their communities where they're most connected and passionate, but also on that global scale. With Sport for Impact's overarching charitable purpose being to educate and empower the athletes around strategic sport for development opportunities, intentional philanthropy, and the power of issue-driven collective action to advance public good. So with that, we see incredible alignment and opportunity in promoting and advancing the SDGs and hopefully establishing connection and opportunity with all of your organizations as well. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Angela and Rebecca. And Anquan, thank you so much for making sure to connect and join us. I assure you we are going to find a way to get you and your family here very soon because we want to meet you in person and have a chance to have some direct interaction and personal interaction because that's the Players Coalition effort is an amazing example of taking a passion and wanting to make a difference, bringing allies and partners around and bringing in the NFL and really making change happen. Now we'll pivot back to the other football or soccer. And I invite our good friends, Jason Roberts, Chief Football Development Officer from Concacaf, also a former English Premier League and international footballer, and Nasser Al-Khoury, the Executive Director of Generation Amazing and the Supreme Committee for the World Cup Delivery and Legacy from the state of Qatar. I've had a chance to get to know both Nasser and Jason very well over the last several, coming up on years actually now, and been incredibly impressed by the work they're doing together, and a great example of partnership with organizations coming together. So, welcome. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rob. And just before we start, I think Jason and I were reflecting on how this partnership came about, and it was actually during COVID. We were in lockdown in Qatar. We were spending a lot of times on MS Teams, just talking about what could we do with the wider partnership between the state of Qatar and Concacaf. And it's amazing to see, after a couple of years, our impact and what we were able to kind of come together and, both of our shared visions coming together and, using that shared vision in terms of, using sports and specifically football here, or soccer, I should say, to kind of, create social development in different communities around the world, but also looking at specific needs of, those communities and how those needs could be addressed through sports. And, again, the mega sporting event from our perspective, as my colleague Fatma mentioned, it wasn't just a World Cup for Qatar, it was a World Cup for the region and for the world. And, Generation Amazing, was founded in the early stages of the bid for the World Cup. But, since 2022, we've been able to reach 75 million countries. We've impacted 1 million lives of young boys and girls across the world. And, we started off working with refugee populations and internally displaced people across the Middle East in the beginning. And, despite growing to become a global foundation, our dedication to the initial cause has not changed. And before touching on the partnership with Concacaf, I would like to highlight that GA is providing psychosocial support through sports to Gazan medical evacuees currently receiving treatment in the state of Qatar, and providing them with the opportunity to bond with one another despite their hardship and trauma. Additionally, we have partnered with Palestine Sports for Life that previous to the humanitarian crisis we are witnessing unfold was operating in both Gaza and the West Bank. And this is a dedication to provide those in need with crucial sports-based education programming transfers to all of our programs globally. And then obviously by joining forces with Concacaf to look at grassroots football for development programming across the Concacaf region, this partnership empowered, the Concacaf MAs to enhance grassroots coach curriculum and equipping local coaches to deliver dynamic, safe, and engaging football sessions for youth. And then this partnership, I would also like to highlight, is a bridge between the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 legacy and the anticipation of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And the collaboration showcased is the unifying power of football, and that all of us, as part of the Football for the Goals partners, understand and strive for. And then the partnership with Concacaf, I just want to say this, and Jason is going to go into more details around, the different countries and the level of impact that we've reached to date. But we're in over 20 member associations to date, and we anticipate reaching all the 41 member associations under Concacaf by 2026. And the aim is to train 1,000 football coaches, and then to reach 100,000 youth throughout the Concacaf region by 2026. We also have a video and a slideshow, but I don't know if that's, yeah.
Sports has the power to change people's lives, but we can't do it alone.
Football can speak to people in a way that not many things can. Our alignment with Generation Amazing, they have that same vision.
We have a curriculum that's aligned with UN Sustainable Development Goals that we launched.
We created a curriculum aligned with what Generation Amazing have done around the world.
We have a coaching program that aims to embed some of these skills and values in youth globally.
How do we use football as a vehicle for social change? Through sports and the delivery of sports, we can engage young people. Of course, it's about the access to sports, but it's actually about capacity building people. So an outcome is a volunteer network across all 41 different countries.
We can all do it together and increase from 75 countries to reach every single country and every single underprivileged kid in every single community around the world.
We're going to be left with volunteers who understand sports, understand how to interact with young people. We also believe that there'll be a wider impact throughout the region.
Concacaf Generation Amazing came together to deliver, this amazing legacy project, and we call for like-minded partners with the same shared vision of using sports to uplift lives and to change people's lives to join us on this journey.
Before my friend Nasser continues with the presentation, I just wanted to take this moment just to say what a pleasure it is to be here in a room of colleagues and friends from the football family, also from different sports. I can't say how much I've been inspired by what's been discussed today and the opportunities in regards to the partnerships that can be created within this room. One of the main things, and I'm sure you've all been a part of this as an organization, when you sit down with a partner, is in which way can you align? Do they share your values? Do they share your vision on how you can actually use your organizations to change people's lives? And in Generation Amazing, what we found was a partner not just focused on the equipment giveaways, or not just focused on the positioning and the PR, but actually the real work of investing in communities and investing in people. And I think for any sustainable program, it's that investment in the human capital and the communities which is really vitally important. And I think that our project has a large mandate and a big vision, which is, as Nasser mentioned, delivering to 100,000 people and ensuring that 1,000 coaches are a part of this project. What do we leave behind? Well, we hope we leave an ecosystem of people who are capacity built and able to take not only football for social change, but sports for social change, and continue to drive development forward in the way that many of you do here today. So as we go through the presentation, I hope that we can show you what we've done, but also learn from you and find ways to align in light of the great work with Football for the Goals. And I'm very proud, under our mandate from our President, Victor Montagliani, to ensure that we are part of the Football for the Goals, to be part of these conversations.
Yeah, so I mean, just to recap, I think we mentioned this already, but we've been able to reach 20 member associations as of 2021, but we're also looking at the next 10 member associations we're trying to roll out in 10 countries per year, and this project is anticipated to last until 2026. As Jason mentioned, it's 1,000 coaches that are being trained with the resources and the curriculum that we've developed together, and obviously with a purpose to empower the next generation. Do you want to do?
So this is something that we're extremely proud about, and I spoke about alignment in values and vision. Whilst we were extremely happy to be able to collaborate in regards to giving away balls and giving away goals and T-shirts, etc., it was how are we going to actually deliver and make a sustainable change in people's lives. So through the development of a curriculum, a co-developed curriculum which focused on football for social change, also focused on the role of a coach, as well as delivering sustainable and development football sessions. One of the main things I want to highlight is our focus on child protection and safeguarding. We have a very diverse region within the Concacaf mandate, whether it's USA, Mexico, Canada, the whole of Central America, Guatemala, Belize, as well as in Caribbean. And what we found in our delivery through the schools is that many coaches were actually the teachers. And what we were delivering, especially in the area of child safeguarding, really helped them in their everyday lives, in their work, but also as individuals and community leaders. So I was very proud of the fact that our delivery of the curriculum was wider than just football.
Yeah, and then something else to mention also is the alignment with SDGs, and obviously, both Concacaf and Generation Amazing, we believe that sports as a tool could accelerate the achievement of SDGs, and everything we do on the pitch, and it's so different when you have the kids and youth kind of on the pitch rather than in a classroom setting, for example, or any other venue. I think when they sit on the pitch and they reflect with the coach and they sit in a circle, it's a much safer environment. It's they're open, they're able to express their thoughts and opinions. And then that's why we've also introduced the psychosocial support and mental health work that we're doing with WHO and FIFA around this, specifically using sports, because we really believe that sports has that, has that power to kind of tackle those issues in society. And then just the workflow. Do you want to do this slide?
Yeah, so very briefly, we implemented the Train the Trainer program, which actually meant that we delivered the curriculum to individuals within the country who were able to deliver that onto the coaches and the volunteers, creating that volunteer network and creating an opportunity for them to take that sport for development ecosystem that had been developed and hopefully go forward with other opportunities in the sport for development ecosystem.
And then year one countries, obviously we have the list over here: Guatemala, Belize, the Bahamas, Dominican Republic, U.S. Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Saint Martin, the Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. And these are sort of, countries that received kind of the training and the capacity building, and they've kind of all created, sort of community programs since then, and they've kind of taken this and elevated the program to, working with the MA, working with Concacaf as well. And we're really proud of these achievements and the impact we've had. This is a specific case study on the Dominican Republic. I don't know.
Correct. And just in closing, because I think this is the part that we wanted to really highlight, in that somebody said earlier, if you build it, they will come. And in regards to what we've done, what we found is that in the Dominican Republic, because of the work that we've been doing, engaging the member association, bringing the support of Generation Amazing and Concacaf, is that the Department of Education, the Department of Sport have got involved. And now, even though we brought funding for 25 schools, we're now delivering in 45 schools. In Belize, we've had other non-for-profit organizations and governmental support to make sure that our delivery is not just to football coaches, but to sports coaches across the country, and help them to implement physical education within the curriculum. So I think that's the wider impact of what we're doing with our program, and we look forward to it being grown to all 41 of our member associations. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason and Nasser. I think as with all these conversations, we could just keep them going, but unfortunately, I'm trying to keep everyone to time. So, but we thank you very much, and it's just an amazing example of partnership and driving it. And I love how it's driving throughout the region. I mean, it's all of the associations, not just the bigger ones that we think of and that are hosting the FIFA World Cup, but those that are out there in need and trying to drive through football. Thank you. I'd now like to bring up another good friend, Michele Uva, the Director of Social Environmental Sustainability at UEFA. And he's going to talk to us about UEFA's Euro 2024 sustainability strategy. It's taking place in Germany this summer. At the same time, Copa America is taking place here in the U.S., which Jason is very proud of and will be very active in. But it's great to have both Concacaf and UEFA here to talk about what they're doing with their activities and partnerships with these major events coming up in the summer. Michele, thank you for being with us, and over to you.
Okay. First of all, good morning all, and thanks for inviting us, UEFA, to the quarter of the most important organization in the world. I will try to summarize in, I think, in 10, 12 minutes, our efforts in the last 2 years. I will try to end, but with a specific focus of Euro 2024 in Germany. But let me start from the question that Maya told us what UEFA is, because it's we are in UEFA is the Union of European Football Association. It has 55 national associations, 1.2 million coaches, registered coaches, 750 top division clubs, 20 million registered football players, 250,000 amateur clubs, and 2 billion fans around the world. It's a big organization, and we feel these numbers as a big responsibility for our journey. The link between football or soccer, if you prefer, and sustainability, I think, is a natural one. In 2021, UEFA developed a 10-year sustainability strategy titled Strength Through Unity, built around 11 policies, of which 7 focus on human rights and 4 focus on protection of the environment. Of course, everything is under the umbrella of 17 SDGs. Now, Strength Through Unity is an important and fundamental chromosome in UEFA DNAs, well defined in the global strategy United for Success, approved 2 months ago at Paris Congress. This is the overall UEFA strategy. We start from the idea that football must not simply intercept and follow the sustainability and social trends, it must anticipate and originate them. On that journey, we think that sustainability is not a cost, but is an investment, with reference to which the return on investment mindset needs to be integrated in with the concept of risk of inaction. Risk of investment, risk of inaction. We have set our sustainability strategy around collective action to respect human rights. Next slide, please. To respect human rights and environment, moving from inspiration to activation, mobilizing the key stakeholder that we analyze on the left side with our member association, our clubs, our leagues, and then the first ring is composed by the football stakeholders, and of course the second one is very important: institution, media, communities, governments, fans, supplier, and commercial partner. Of course, everything, as I mentioned before, is under the umbrella of and guidance of the SDGs, and this is why we are working with a great enthusiasm to promote football for the goals, which is increasingly becoming the common language worldwide, and we will contribute to do this important focus, Robert. Moving to a concrete case, UEFA is translating its commitment to sustainability in practice. And now we will introduce you briefly what we are doing for Euro 2024 in Germany. The Euro tournament takes place every 4 years. Next slide, please. Every 4 years. And is the third largest sport event in the world. Here you can see some figures behind the tournament. This is the 17 editions. We have 10 stadiums in 10 host cities in Germany, 51 matches, 24 teams, 2.7 million fans in the stadium, ticket holders. We have 10 times request for tickets. This means that it's a very important and very well perceived events. We will have 10 million fans in the fan zone and the public viewing. More than 1,000 employees are focused on to organize Germany. 640 will be in Germany, and we have 16,000 volunteers. This is only to introduce what is the big figures that are. The scale brings responsibility, but also opportunity to generate impact. For next slide, please. Of course, the mindset is we have been working with 3 years in fine-tuning our ESG strategy around a strategic approach to ensure sustainability on this large event, a dedicated ESG strategy with 99 concrete actions, a significant financial investment of 32 million, is the largest ever for UEFA, and ensuring that our commitment is backed by a proactive engagement with the Euro 2024 stakeholders and full transparency around our plans and our ambitions. The next slide is the matrix. Please don't be scared. Is our matrix where we are working on sustainability. We have, as I mentioned before, 3 pillars: environment, social, and governance, that drive in 11 areas of action: climate action, sustainability infrastructure, and circular economy. We have 4 focus on social, is rights protection, diversity, inclusion, health and well-being, solidarity, and the governance, that is good governance, education, communication, and economy. 28 topics, 47 targets, and as I mentioned before, we land in our 99 action. For those that are interested in knowing more on the ESG strategy details, of course, everything is publicly available on our website. Now we have some example. I don't want to bother you with the 99 actions because I think but we summarize some of them, but please go through it. Are not anymore 99 actions, are 100 actions, because we are the 100 actions is we have the certification of equal salary payment for all our employees. This is the last one. As you can see on the slides, we have a structure, we have a stadium accessibilities. For us, it's very important to welcome all human rights risk assessment and mitigation actions. We sign with the German government and all cities the Human Rights Declaration. We have a grievance mechanism, a rapid response mechanism. Of course, we have also online abuse platform. We provide workforce and volunteers with equal rights. And of course, we have for the first time ever our ESG event management system deployment to certificates, to self-certificate. Moving to the next slides, we have the other slides. Let me take 2 minutes because my flight was 11 hours yesterday. I think that I can take 2 minutes of your time more, if you agree. Yes? Thank you very much, because it's pushing me 2 minutes, 1 minute, 0 minutes. Please.
I'm sorry, Michele.
After 22 hours of flight, coming back, I think.
I was given the task. I was given the task.
Thank you. For the last slide, it's what UEFA 24 is for us. We want to emphasize that we are taking responsibility beyond sporting size. We are determined to deliver social impact and sustainability legacy. We are collaborating, innovating across all tenants operation, and we will try to generating a return on investment across society. We have also one more slide that is one more data that is we are taking care of environmental sustainability. I think it will be the most sustainable event ever. Our carbon footprint, we calculate that will be for more or less 500,000 tons. We have a reduction plans to reduce 25% our carbon emissions to arrive to reach the target of 400,000 tons. And we are moving not with offsetting system. We create a climate fund with 7 million euros of investment and we are financing the projects of German amateur clubs on green projects. Is a new system that we are applying for this event. The conclusion: the link between soccer and sustainability is a clear one, because at the center of both human rights beings and environment. At UEFA, we know that we are here for a long road. It's a long-term investment. It is not a short term, because we must do our part in ensuring that we all enjoy the game that we love in the best possible way. While a strategic process, a defined path, and multiple goals provide the necessary foundation, the true measures of organizational leadership come when translating thoughts into tangible actions on the ground. We need to move from words to actions. This is the goal of Euro 2024. This step not only influenced the entire football system, but also extended its impact to society at large. Football is a team sport. And if you play football, you play together. And we need to play together. And we are here to launch these messages as a call to action to work together for a better future. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Michele. And believe me, I could listen to you for much longer than the 10 minutes, and would love to hear more, and we'll continue those conversations for sure. It's not us from our group that is pushing you up, but we have our room limitations and on time here at the United Nations, as all of us are around the UN recognize that we have hard stops sometimes. But thank you very much. It's an amazing plan for Euro 2024, and UEFA is doing an amazing job across the SDGs. So thank you again. Finally, for this segment, I would like to welcome to the front table Ambassador Nicolas de Rivière, permanent representative of the mission of France to the United Nations, who will be joined from Paris by Marie Barsac, Executive Director of Impact and Legacy of the Paris 2024 Olympic Organizing Committee. And Ambassador de Rivière and Executive Director Barsac will highlight the Paris 2024 Olympic Games sustainability strategy. Kind of great timing coming off Euro 2024, what's happening in Germany to what's happening in Paris around sustainability. Great projects, both. First, we're going to have a short look at a short video from the IOC, who obviously is a key part of the project as well.
Olympism is a philosophy of life. It celebrates the transformative power of sport for social change, not only during the Olympic Games, but every day, everywhere. The IOC brings this philosophy to life with its Olympism 365 program. By working together across the Olympic movement, with the United Nations and beyond, we are contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals. And sport is our bridge. The world is facing immense challenges. Sport is a low-cost, high-impact response. We enable thousands of safe and inclusive programs to be delivered at grassroots level. Athletes and young people are leading innovative projects, helping communities overcome barriers.
Fighting poverty, fighting poor education, empowering girls so they know that they can succeed in life, they can do better.
Hundreds of projects worldwide are also offered through the National Olympic Committees, financed through the IOC's Olympic Solidarity Development Program. Trained coaches and educators are using sport as a hook back into education to develop young people's transferable skills, to boost their employment opportunities, and to create more peaceful and inclusive communities.
I think more teachers should be aware, more parents should be aware of what the importance of sport is and how that sport can really shape their children's future. If they do not know the power of sport, then obviously the kids will not know.
We strengthen the capacity of organizations to deliver local initiatives reaching millions of young people. These joint efforts contribute to the global goal of reducing physical inactivity by 15%. We work together with communities, businesses, and policymakers to affect change at every level. Olympism 365 is the catalyst to amplify the impact of sport and Olympism.
We invite you to join us to promote these values of excellence, respect, friendship, solidarity, and peace together. Because it's only by joining hands that we can truly live our new Olympic motto: faster, higher, stronger, together.
Thanks to the IOC for the video, and now Ambassador Riviere and Executive Director Barsak, I welcome your comments and thank you for being with us. And I'll try not to slide too many pieces of paper over there.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. You're giving me the opportunity to speak about the Olympics in Paris next summer, as we are gathered here today to celebrate the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. France places particular importance in sport. We promote its role to make progress in achieving the SDGs, in particular to advance climate and environmental action, gender equality, to make progress in health and education, especially for the youth. The video presented right now by the International Olympic Committee showcased great example in this regard. Sport is also a universal, inspiring language that brings people together and unites them, transcending borders, cultures. Therefore, it contributes to building more inclusive and peaceful societies. This year, of course, is particularly important for France, as we will host the upcoming 2024 Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games in Paris over the summer, 100 years after having hosted it in our country already in 1924. The Games in Paris are intended to be a major celebration of sport and the Olympic values of excellence, friendship, and respect, with an emphasis on openness, accessibility, and social inclusion. France has set itself major ambition in terms of the legacy of the Games, in particular to strengthen the social impact of sport and improve the health and well-being of the population. Reflecting France's feminist diplomacy, we have set ourselves high ambitions for the Games in Paris in terms of gender equality, as it will be the first ever Olympic Games to achieve true gender parity among athletes competing. Reflecting our climate policy, we will aim to reduce the carbon emissions by half compared to previous edition by establishing mechanisms to track the footprint. Such features will be further presented by the Paris 2024 Organizing Committee in a few minutes. As host of the upcoming Games, France had the honor of holding the pen here in New York of the Olympic Truth Resolution in close collaboration with the International Olympic Committee, which was successfully adopted by the General Assembly last November. France reiterates its most sincere gratitude to the member state that supported and co-sponsored the resolution. This important text carries a universal message in favor of peace, reviving the ancient Greek tradition of the Olympic truth, or Ekecheria, and reflects the vision shared by many that sport is a powerful tool to promote sustainable development and peace. I will leave it now to Madame Marie Barsak, Executive Director of Impact and Legacy of the Paris 2024 Organizing Committee, to further present to you, directly from Paris, the great ambitions of the Games in terms of sustainable impact and legacy. Thank you, Robert. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador Riviere. And now we will go directly to Madame Barzak.
Ambassadors, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you for your invitation. It is a great honor for me to speak in front of you today. I wish I could be with you in person, but as you can imagine, we are quite busy in Paris at the moment. The games are being just in a few months. I think it's 112 days to be exact, so it's pretty short. While we are celebrating today the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace, we are also eager to start the celebrations in Paris. Although it is a topic of great importance, as you can imagine, celebration is not the only point of the agenda today. I am here to talk about another topic of great importance for us, the impact and the legacy of the Paris 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games. The ambassador just gave you a great overview of France's global ambition for sports and the Games, and the video presented by the International Olympic Committee gave an essential sense of the key messages today. To complement in introduction, I will present our strategy for Paris 2024, in a strategy in which I drive this strategy. So at Paris 2024, we like to say that sport can change lives. It's our motto. It means that sport can bring solutions to all of challenges our societies are facing today. Since the beginning phase, and I was there at that time, this conviction has been at the very center of our strategy. To make this conviction a reality, we implemented several measures which I will now present to you. More precisely, as I know it is a top priority for the United Nations, I will show how those actions will contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. So let's begin with health and well-being. Combating sedentary lifestyles has been one of our key priorities and something we really want to leave in legacy in a long-term perspective after the Games. To do so, we adopted a strategy called Move More Strategy, aims to we promoted physical activity where people are. People are at school, they are at the office, at work, and they are in the city. We really promoted active design in all those areas. On this subject, we have one emblematic measure, which is called 30 minutes of daily physical activity at school. It has been implemented firstly as an experimentation around 10,000 schools in France, and now the government decided to implement this measure to all schools in France. It is very important because it means that our legacy is already on its way, and that this measure impacts all the kids of one generation of France. So it's quite important. And I would like to underline that we are very proud and we welcome the reference of this flagship initiative to the Olympic Truth Resolution as yes, it's a proudness for us. To continue with education, we also want to use sports and its value for educational and civic purposes. For example, every year we organize the Olympic and Paralympic Week in France. For us, it is a key moment to promote education through sports and to bring values of citizenships and sports into the classrooms. Last year, more than 1 million pupils and students were involved, and this year, it is right now this week, we already have 2 million of kids and students involved. So it's a great, great success already, and this Olympic and Paralympic Week will continue after the Games. As you know, Paris 2024 is also aims to promote inclusion and equality. In terms of inclusion, the goal is to foster a more inclusive society, of course, and especially for people with disability. To do so, we support 3,000 inclusive clubs in France, because as persons with disabilities, they encounter difficulties to have access to sports. And the idea was to create para-sports sections in ordinary clubs and where people with disability can come. And this strategy has been very successful because now the government is helping us to implement this project all around France. In terms of equality, the ambassador mentioned the fact that we are the first games to achieve gender parity among athletes, which is great. But in addition, we also support projects which aim at removing the barriers faced by women to access to sports. For example, we develop a gender-neutral schoolyard for girls and boys to share the schoolyard in a more equal way, because in France, there is a terrible figures. 80% of the schoolyard is used by some boys who practice football. Sorry for UEFA, but we prefer that girls and boys play together and not only football. Concerning climate and environmental impact, it is also a priority for us. The ambassador talked about our ambition to have the carbon footprint of the games compared with previous editions. To do so, we choose to use 95% of existing or temporary infrastructure, and we only built a swimming pool, an aquatic center, which is built because it is very useful for the territory of Seine-Saint-Denis close to Paris. So as you understand, we don't build a lot. We really use what is existing, and it helps us to reduce drastically our carbon print. We also want to promote economic growth, which is very important. And more precisely, we want the games to create economical opportunities for all. In this respect, we place a great emphasis on integrating people, are first from the labor market in France. And as an illustration, I can share with you one emblematic project, which is called From the Stadium to Employment. The idea here is to organize job datings with job seekers and recruiters who are practicing sports anonymously, and it breaks the ice between them. And during the afternoon, they declare who is a job seeker, who is an employer. But the atmosphere is very more open to discussion, and there is a better rate of employment after this kind of job dating than a classical job dating. So with that measure, we showcase the power of sports to reveal skills to find a job. Last but not least, I would like also to present our endowment fund, which serves all of these objectives. We created this fund in 2019, and the fund supports projects conducted by civil society organizations, which use sports to achieve a social and environmental impact. More than 1,000 projects have been financed already, and it benefits to more than 4.5 million people for a total of 47 million euros distributed. While most of these projects are specific to France, we also wanted to support global initiatives. That is why we launched an incubator for athletes entrepreneurs in collaboration with the French Development Agency. And this incubator enabled already 52 top athletes from 14 countries to carry out projects with social and environmental impact, including 32 projects in Africa. I will stop here. It was a great pleasure to present our strategy. It's a very large one, so it's a short presentation, but our action in terms of impact and legacy are very important for us, as you understand. As you can see, the Sustainable Development Goals are at the center of our project, and we hope this will help setting new standards for major sport events in the future all around the world. And I believe this is an ambition that we all share. And the last word, come to Paris this summer. You will see fantastic stories that can demonstrate that sports can change lives and contributes to the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Executive Director Barzak. It's an amazing story. I think the Paris Olympics are going to be incredibly successful, both from a sporting perspective and from a sustainable development perspective. Thanks for joining us from there. And of course, Ambassador Rio, thank you very much for being here with us today. We so much appreciate your contributions. And with that, there's a lot of sport this summer, right? We've got a lot to pay attention to and a lot of work we can all do together. And this brings us to the end of this conversation around sport. But as Michele said, this is about action. It's about doing. And I think we can all walk away from here after hearing all these amazing interventions and actually continue and start to take those actions. I thank all the speakers, and I thank all of you for being part of the event. Let's all keep using the games we love to bring positive change to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.